go. Good morning, Kirsten. How are you?
I'm good, Christy. How are you?
Good. So I'm so excited to chat to you today. I think obviously you have this incredible business that I think all of us as bus mums we need desperately, but we can also learn so much from you, so much from you. And I think just getting to like know you and chat to you over the last little bit, I've learned so much from you. But I think the thing that I get the most excited about sharing is, Kirsten, you have this just this like infectious energy that you so generously share. And I feel like every single time I talk to you, I come off and I'm like so motivated. You have this like, we can do it attitude, even though your goals are like way beyond what I even think are like imaginable. You just have this attitude that I get off a call with you. I'm like, oh, we can do it. I can do it. So I'm so excited for the just the mums on the call to get to know you a
Thank
little bit
you.
today and yeah, to share in that energy.
Yeah, listen, we either, yeah, for me, you either go like balls to the walls and do it, or kind of die trying because I feel like there isn't another option.
Exactly. When you like, yeah, you put both feet in. How many cups of coffee do you drink a day? I'm very curious about that.
So it's a good and bad thing. Good because I drink like my cappuccinos as a meal replacement for breakfast and lunch, which is not a good thing.
No.
But eat probably three on
Okay.
average, so not
Okay.
too many.
Okay. So you're not like totally wired up, but just that edge.
Yeah, listen, if I don't have coffee, I'm still like this, so that is concerning.
Oh, that's amazing. That is amazing.
Yeah.
How are you? Let's start there. How are you? Like the real
Oh
raw
my goodness.
underneath it. How are you?
Yeah, it is, Christy, it is a crazy, crazy, crazy time. So, on a personal level, I have a 3 and a 4-year-old, and they are going through the toddler stage as toddlers do, which makes them like extra adorable and extra cute, but
Mm.
extra demanding and extra hands-on required. Hubby's traveling a lot at the moment. When he's here, he is so supportive. So I am really lucky
Oh,
to have that from a kind of back end support
yeah.
in even in just in the background. Like I know so many husbands are really, really busy and actually just don't have the time to kind of
Yeah.
input, but he is amazing. But he does travel a lot, which means there are those pockets of being alone. And it changes the dynamic slightly of the attention needed for the kids,
Mm.
which is a reality of boss moms. It just is, which is why boss moms are my favorite type of client and favorite type of human, because we
Mm.
just function differently. I am proud of myself at the best of times when I realize what I can do. And then I try also just stay away from the expectations of to be able to kind of continually do that because it's not always sustainable. So that's my biggest kind of sitting point continuously. And then on a work front, yeah, we're in this really big transition phase at the moment. So I've been working with, I took 31 employees on through a work experience program last year, April, which is where this whole, what we're going to kind of probably go into, kind of started. And it's been I've been trying to be PC and call it a roller coaster, but I could think of lots of other words than that for the last 11 months.
You're welcome to
And
talk, call it what you want.
and now we're in this phase of absorbing these candidates, which makes it so much more real than just enjoying and um, utilizing the program for what it is. But now it's that crossing point of reaching the numbers, increasing turnover to absorb them properly, getting different partnerships and collaborations. And it's intense because I was for a very long time a one-man band mentality. Whether I did
Mm.
have a kind of partner or I had one or two staff working for me, and I've been through lots of businesses and lots of partnerships, and they were always small-ish businesses. This is the first time where it's like, if I don't get rid of that, that is what will crash this company. So it's a very big mindset energy, confidence, physical like transition that has to go on right now. So that's where I am.
Well, let's go there because I feel like that is such a, and actually, exactly what you've said is such an interesting transition and contrast for bus mums as well. Because,
Mm.
firstly, I want to know from you how you are managing the expectations, which you've chatted about, how you are doing that transition of going from this solo mindset to we are a team. Like, let's talk about those structures, those things in place. And then what I'm really interested in, because there is a part of, and you said that your husband travels a lot. So there's a part of us that, and this I think is my biggest struggle with being a bus mom, is that there are so many contrasts. And I
Mm.
don't feel like our brains are designed to flip flop between the two. And you've hit the nail on the head with that because as a solo mom, you have to hold it all and you have to be doing it all. You have to find a way to do it alone. But then in business, you're trying to open your neural pathways to be like, oh, I don't have to do this alone. And I think that's such a struggle, whether it is just the hiring or not hiring, or for me, like just my focus, for instance, that's another contrast with kids versus work, you know? And it's like, how are you training your brain to do both at the same time? I don't even know if that's a question, but I guess it's just more of a conversation because that's something that I struggle with so much is like this contrast of in our mum roles, we have to be one thing and we step up for that. And like you said, boss moms are also
Mm.
my favorite people in the world because somehow we do step up for it. But I feel like then when we step into business, we have these certain stories or certain systems that we're holding on to that it is actually stopping us from growing. And I think your idea there of like the hiring versus the doing it by yourself is a perfect example of this. So take us through that process. We can talk about it.
So I think to start with, reality is has been my kind of grounding point, which is why one of the statement I actually live by now, and it's through business and it's through the family side, is you can't do it alone. There has been this conditioning, there has been this society pressure for years, and you can see it everywhere. This is not a new thing that I'm talking
Mm,
about or anything like that, but I've really bought into the concept
yeah.
that you cannot do it alone. And whether that's from a mom perspective, there has to be some form of support. And if that's the kids' schooling, if that is family that can support, if that is a nanny that can be there, if it's friends that you can rely on, there has to be something because
Mm,
it's not sustainable alone. Do not live in a world where anything can be done alone. We just cannot.
yeah.
And yet it's a world that's getting smaller and smaller. I'd love to know how many people still know their neighbors and go and ask for eggs when you forgot to buy eggs to build the cupcakes that you forgot about to take to school the next day because it's Star Baker. Like we would rather get in a car and drive or get Uber to drop off eggs than knock on a door of a neighbor. So the world
So
has
true.
changed. And that whole like, village concept is still true. And sometimes you have to buy your village. We
Mm,
don't have a natural village anymore. And I was trying to, for years, search for a natural village. And my husband and I were like, okay, we don't have that support structure. So we might have to buy ours.
mm,
And if that comes in form of a preschool, whether you for homeschooling or not, or preschool or not, we had to make a decision on what tribe we would like to buy. And we settled on that to help us so that I have at least mornings to work from home
yeah.
without the kids. If there was, we had a nanny, things went wrong, and for a year and a half, I was alone with the kids in the afternoon because it took me a year and a half to retrust that process. But we had to make a decision. Do we keep suffering like this? And I say suffering because it's not sustainable, not suffering because I'm at home with my kids.
Yeah.
The running and the contrast and the pressure of running a business and trying to be that mom at home is not worth it. So we went through the process and we found an amazing nanny now that is able to be with me at home so that when I do have meetings that I can't have the child on the lap, then I have that. But we've had to pay for that. That comes at a price. And we
Yeah.
had to build that slowly because we've also been through the up and down where maybe we couldn't afford a nanny or school was like, oh my word, what do we sacrifice to pay for school? And then you go through that and you build it up and, it's kind of worth it. So that's one thing is just even from a family perspective, that you cannot do it alone.
Mm,
And ours came with a lot of trust issues and stuff we had to buy. We had to buy a tribe.
yeah.
Then, from a business perspective, um, my business is built off my competency of understanding how to run A to Z. Now, could I run a multi-million dollar company off my competency of A to Z of running a business? Absolutely not.
Mm.
But everybody has to start from zero. And the simple things we don't get taught. So unless you're going to go investigate and figure out how to do it yourself or outsource or hire someone to do it, you don't go through that learning curve and then it just doesn't get done.
Mm.
So, to that support perspective, I had to get to the point of reality of, okay, I can't do this alone either. So, what do I want? I think and that's where I come back to the reality check of, do I want a small business that allows me to work from home, allows me to enjoy my children, and how long do I want that phase to last? And at what point does that dream potentially become bigger and then I can open up the framework or look at a different runway? And I think a lot of boss moms start out with, okay, I'm going to be, or I am a graphic designer. And then we've got to work 20 hours a day. I need, 100 clients. I want to bring in R1 million a month. And we're trying to jump from the reason we started the business of that flexibility and freedom and ability to be with our kids
Mm.
to what business must look like and sound like. And I'm like, if I'm okay with R1 million turnover a year and it's bringing me 60, 70, 80,000 Rand a month, and I'm comfortable with that, and that's my goal, whether I can hit that now, whether in 5 years, then let me be okay with my reality of what I want. We get put under such pressure to grow from one milestone to the next instead of keeping something sustainable. There are so many businesses that go from R1 million in SA to 5 million to 10 million, and then they jump back down because at different levels, there are different sacrifices. We
Mm.
think the stress of what we're trying to balance now in a 10,000 Rand per month, self-employed, own job, it's not a business. If I left, there would be no company role. To think it's going to be easier when we're running a 10 million Rand company, a 100 million Rand company. The stress levels are the same. You're just stressing about different things. So I think the reality check there was, what do I want? What do I want? Not what is expected. What do I want and what I'm comfortable with? And then you can plan from there because now you've defined your own framework around where you want to be and what amazing looks like. And that can change, but it gives you a really realistic starting point, in my opinion. So I was really real about that. And in all my small businesses that I've had before my MBA board, they were very big lessons about how I tried to jump out too quickly
Mhm.
and how that didn't work because there were no systems, there were no processes, there was no almost care. It was like, well, just do it without the training and everything that comes with it. And then it was the other extreme of like me doing absolutely everything. And luckily, I did all of that before I had kids. So working those, 16, 18-hour days, I went through all of that. And then when I had children, that contrast you're talking about, there's only so much I could do by being on the computer and trying to do business and having my little 2-year-old standing next to me and going, mommy, 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 mommy.
Mm.
At some point, you got to understand which one is a glass ball, which one you can drop, what's going to be the impact, because there's going to be impact by doing one or the other all the time. And if you're not following up on an invoice right now, and there might be a 2 minute, 2 hour, 2 day delay payment versus building the Lego with your 2-year-old, what in that moment is more important?
Mm.
Because it's the way we live our lives, I think, as boss moms, is there isn't a 2 hour, 4 hour, 6 hour plan when you're with your kids. And a lot of our moms also do homeschooling that I've started meeting. To have that, it's 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here that you're swapping between, okay, my kids needed this, so I'll do that now. And then it's 10 minutes on the computer. And then so if you're in a normal office environment or a corporate, you don't have that.
Yeah.
So it's jumping between the two. And if that's the reality, then that's fine, but then be okay with it.
I think that
We
that's
have to
such.
find peace in what our reality is outside of the expectations and what everyone else thinks. And if you can do your business 10 minutes by a time, then find a way to be at peace with doing 10 minutes at a time.
Mm. I think that's such an important key that you're right. Many of us miss. It's like define what you want and be okay with the pros and the cons that come with that. Because every situation, and like you said, I think people want that 10 million Rand company. I've just got off the phone with somebody who has a 10 million rand company and they don't have any cash flow because it's a huge product. And the stress that is coming with that is huge. And when I was talking to her, I was like, well, maybe my small little business with like no expenses is actually for now, because I would love to go into product, but I was like, maybe for now it's actually just perfect for me, you know? And I think that that's such a good point, is like figure out what you want, the lifestyle that you want, and then the pros and the cons with coming that come with that, and be okay with that reality. And how, I mean, I want to know about your journey to get to where you are now and your MBA, my MBA board, because I feel like what you have created is exactly what you needed. And I feel
Yeah.
like you needed it because possibly you made the mistake that we're all making now in not buying your village. And I also love that advice is buy your village. And sometimes, like when you think of a village, I think many of us think of just friends and families and like who can look after our children when something bad happens. But you can also buy that consistency and that structure
Mm.
in a village that supports your work, that supports your lifestyle, that supports your relationships, if that's what's important to you at this stage. So I love that concept of buying the village. Okay, but tell us about your path and why you needed my MBA board, and then what made you just be like, I'm creating this, and yeah.
So I've never actually I lie, I have had a job. I had two jobs in my early 20s. Although I did have also side hustle on the side. So I was a bookkeeper for a law firm. That was my first job. I needed money to go overseas with my best friend. And so I worked in a law firm in the accounting field. And I didn't have an accounting degree, but I had done accounting at school and numbers was my thing. So it was easy to get into, but there were lots of learning curves there about the
Mm-hmm.
reality of a business and basic school accounting. And then, I mean, that might have lasted, I don't know. It didn't last very long because I started onboarding other clients and getting everybody. So it just became like, okay, well, is this a job or is this now I'm like, am I freelancing? So I've always been entrepreneurial. My father was an entrepreneurial. My father was an entrepreneur. And my mom worked for the same company for, I don't know, 23 years. So I had the contrast of these
Okay.
parents. And the one looked like prison, which was my mom, and she could never spend time with us, but she was the consistent one. And she made sure there was food on the table, and she made sure that we had clothes on our back and there was a roof over our head. While my dad tried the entrepreneurial route, which went well, really well for some years, and then really not well. So I saw the consistency and like kind of sustainability, but it felt like prison from my mom, me viewing my mom. And I only stood the consistency and appreciation when I became a mother of what she sacrificed to
Yeah.
be able to give us that life that was okay and gave us our basics, our whole childhood. And then my dad, I saw this passion and the entrepreneurial side and being able to work till 2 o'clock on a project he absolutely loved and being able to drop us off at school and pick us up because he worked from home. So there was this other side that was just phenomenal that I saw. And then I went down the entrepreneurial route. So my first kind of was in legal, and then I had like a little accounting clients. And then I partnered with someone because I didn't have qualifications, so they could sign off. And I took some of their clients, started as a basic bookkeeper. And then I wanted a bit more flexibility and freedom, so that kind of ended. And then I went into the software development with my father and grew his company by putting systems and processes into place and even helping develop. But I was everything there. So when I say working 20 hours a day, it was 20 hours a day. And it was coding, it was doing the books, it was getting behind with SARS and trying to play catch up because I just wasn't doing that daily. It was invoicing clients, trying to come up with plans, payment plans, structuring. Then I was actually developing as well. And I was talking to other developers to help develop. Then I was testing the actual program. Then I was designing all the training manuals. And it is insane what went with trying to hold that all together. And that 7-year journey was ridiculous. Then I went into opening up a photo shop and doing everything there, and then throwing somebody in to try and run that. And it just wasn't the same because they weren't customer facing. So I went back into that, working 8 hours a day. So I was an employee proper to my own business, and learning and understanding partner relationships and client facing, and again, just doing everything, doing the books, doing the compliance, doing the marketing, doing the partnerships, the collaboration, and then doing the designing, like to teach myself all the tools of the trade back then. There was no AI that was so available. And then, like, I closed that because it was not sustainable. I could not sit there, and I couldn't find anyone else to do the work that I wanted to do. And I was thinking so big, but I couldn't follow through with the high value partnerships. So I had done a proposal which had the potential to go ahead for a national funeral services company to provide all the photographs to every single funeral, get into their 500 branches. And I dropped that because I was doing the low value tasks. I was sitting and worrying about designing a photograph or editing a photograph for a client who came in, as opposed to the high value growing tasks. And I was a
Oh.
one-man band.
And so many
So
of us get stuck in that.
completely. So you've got to weigh up the importance, but we don't know that, because that I am busy, which equals productive, which equals high value, is what we've been taught or been thrown at.
Mm,
And that was my statement. My statement my whole life was, if I'm busy, I'm being valued. And
mm,
that was such a mindset shift for me over the last couple of years. Like, I don't need to be busy to be valued. That was one as a starting point, let alone the actual
yeah.
everything that goes with work. And then I went from that to helping run a little bit of a shopping center and doing everything again, building systems and processes. And there was a team, and that for me felt weird, because for the first time I understood what it meant when other people did what they did because they were good at it. And I did what I did, even though that was almost an employee kind of role. But that was where I started understanding the value of getting people to do what they're good at. And then I opened up the Graft Yard, which is almost where my MBA Boards concept started. And that was in 2016. So I opened up a co-working shared space before it was the trend and before it was everywhere, as was one of the kind of first independent ones. And I had a beautiful space for mostly 1 to 3 man band businesses to come and sit there instead of sitting at the home office, getting away for a few hours. So I had flexible packages. And then I was like, I could see, and by speaking to all these clients, I could see what was needed, which is what I needed in every single business I had been in.
Mm,
And so I started speaking to different people and going, okay, well, if I helped you with that, would it help you? And they were like, yes. So then I started taking on admin, started taking on HR support, started taking on website and marketing and legal contracts. And I mean, we had clients that came through incubators that cost 300,000 Rand that they were funded for. And they'd walk out and they'd get a contract, and they did not understand they could get a 50% deposit up front. They didn't know how to do a quote. Should they add VAT? Should they not add VAT? Because the client was VAT registered. They weren't VAT registered. They couldn't navigate that, and they'd just come out of a 6 month, 300,000 Rand incubator.
yeah.
And it was like, what moms need, what small businesses need is a doer.
Mm,
They don't need training and mentorship and guidance and that kind of support alone. That is critical, but they need someone to actually just go, I've got this, I'll follow up on your invoicing. I've got this, I'll submit that to SARS. I've got this, I'll give you what your figures and your cost management accounts look like and what your pricing is. It right? I'll give you a basic website.
yeah.
You just go and sell, and you just go in service. And then right now in Boss Moms, it's like you just go and spend 20 minutes with your kids.
Mm,
So it was born then, and we didn't have the AI as the major platform. And obviously, there were platforms and stuff we could use, but I saw the value there, and I had very low tiered packages for there. And the concept grew from there. And then I lost that 2 years later, for like just with personal changes and reasons. And it's never left me. And that ended in 2018. And then I kind of went into consulting with a fintech, and consulting for a really, really big NGO as well. And I learned so much there with different programs, and from a strategic perspective, and just seeing the network, and then even the one, the desperation of businesses that needed help, and two, the unemployment and what that really looked like. So then a project landed last year, April. I left that company 2 years ago, and last year, April, a friend slash kind of colleague came to me and said someone had dropped them. They have to place 100 youth into jobs in 4 months. They have this funding. Can I help? And I was like, yeah, yeah, sure. And then kind of phoned the contacts that they had at the previous person, and the contacts weren't real. And we had these 100 people that we didn't know what to do with. So I took 31 of them into a work experience program. And the concept of the support services at a nominal cost had already been a dream from 8 years ago. And now it was kind of like, you have a chance to do this, but this is almost 100-fold the size of what you were thinking. But it can be done because you've got AI and you've been like preaching this model and preaching this and telling you like now it's put your money where your mouth is,
It was
put your
handed to
energy
you.
and
You
your
were like,
time.
you couldn't say no to that.
No, it was delivered. And
Ah,
I always tell people you have to actually be careful for what you wish for, because
definitely.
when it does get delivered, and life really does work with us. And I've heard so many people say that lately, and work with us and for us. It's not a genuine thing like that. It gets out of bed in the morning to work against anyone on this planet. So it was just like, here it is. How true do you want to be to yourself? Are you going to take this on? And we started with 2 clients. I had two clients, and I think the turnover was like 3,800 Rand last year, April. And I had 31 staff. And it just grew from there because I had no other choice. Now I had 31 staff that I had to lift up, train, give them the experience, tell them we are going to change the economy. We are going to reach 100,000 small businesses, utilizing unemployed youth to do that at a fee that no one else in this country will offer to a client that is not participating in the economy for shared services because they can't afford it. A
Yeah.
boss mom, when you're starting out, does not have 5,000 Rand for a website. Now, 5,000 Rand for a website is not a lot of money, but it is when your turnover is 3,800 Rand because you only have one client or 2 clients or 3 clients.
And also you're at this stage where like your expenses are so high. I think that's
No,
the
you,
other thing is that you want to be giving your children everything. I mean, I know my husband and I go through the stage. We buy these things for our kids and we're like, why are we doing that? And I think that is the I want to say trap, but we want to give we're at the stage that you just want to nurture these children. And a lot of them are like, you have to pay school fees and medical aids and things like that. Other things are like you want to buy them nice things. And then on the flip side of that, we are struggling. And I agree with you, as soon as you do get that cash flow, you're like, okay, 5,000 Rand isn't a lot for a website. But when you are comparing what you can do or where you can do with that 5,000 Rand, some people just don't have it. Um,
but here's my thing, even just
mm,
with that. So even if you did have 5,000 and you put it towards a website, so what?
yeah,
You now have a website.
yeah.
Like, what does that mean in the big scheme of things? Like, now you have a website that's
Mm,
cost you money. What about the social media? And everyone thinks, like, the social, I'm not saying it's wrong, but
yeah.
everyone goes to, okay, social media, I've got to post. And then they're trying to get through one post. So, what is that cost to creating that? And it doesn't have to be perfect, but the time and the energy and the not knowing that
Yeah.
goes into even being able to do that. So maybe you pay someone just for that, but then so what? Now you're spending your days invoicing manually, trying to follow that up, and you don't even know if you're pricing your stuff in the right range.
Mm,
So it's the once off in the beginning for me, unless there is a plan. And sometimes when you're on your own, you don't have a plan, you don't know what the plan is. You're literally trying to get up in the morning, tick a few boxes, feed the kids, be with the kids, and then go to bed at night and hope tomorrow I don't know, get a plan somehow.
yeah.
And what we've created at my MBA board is I have so many clients who just phone me and be like, oh my God, I bought an aircon for the office. Can I expense it? And then we like laugh because yes, you can expense
Yeah.
the aircon for the office. And she's showing me green lilies for her wall that she's chosen because she's a one-man band consultant. There is
Mm.
no one else to share that with. And that is a big business move for her.
Yeah.
And it's, do I do this? Do I not do this? Like, does this look good? Does this not look good? And okay, here, I've done this post. Is it good? I'm like, no, you actually should probably put some music. Can I please give it to my team? No, do not post that. So all of a sudden you have a partner and you're not doing things alone. Like,
Mm.
my husband holds me accountable, and he's a partner, so he's a chairman because he's actually got a full-time job. So he comes in every now and then because he just obviously doesn't have the time because he's got a full-time job. But he holds me accountable to say, what are your high value tasks you're doing today? Because you cannot just get stuck in the low level tasks,
Yeah.
because those are distractions. So I think, and this is so ironic. So I feel like it is confession. You're calling this confession. So
Yeah.
here's a confession.
I love
So
it.
I'm running that move the needle
Needle.
challenge for the boss moms on a WhatsApp group. And yesterday I was like, just identify what your low value tasks are. And some of the moms are putting stuff on there. And it's amazing the realizations that are coming out when you realize, hold on, this is not moving the needle. This
Mm.
is just me being busy right now. And yes, maybe because you don't have a choice. But when you start looking, and even that kind of the post I did the other day, if you had 1 hour a day, you have to be so strategic about what you're doing with that 1 hour per day in
Mm.
your business. But as boss moms, because we're switched on 24/7, we think we have 24/7 to contribute to moms, to contribute to being wives, to contribute being partners, and to contribute being bosses. And we don't. What should
Mm.
take you 2 minutes takes you 3 hours because you're trying to do the 2 minutes in between everything else.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point yesterday when I was like, okay, I need to put down what my low value tasks were today. I was like, oh my word, I'm so proud. One, I did not go into social media and scroll at all yesterday. So I feel like I was so hashtag winning.
There we
And
go.
then I was like, okay, I managed to finalize management accounts for a client. So I didn't do any low value tasks because that was a big move that had to be done. Like, I did not do any low value tasks today. And then I sat for 2 minutes and I realized I had only done low value tasks the whole day. Because if I had managed this client correctly, my finance team would have been doing what I did, and I should have just reviewed the management accounts. But because it's a much bigger client, I was
Yeah.
placing a different importance on them, not a false importance, but a different level of engagement, which took me out of doing my high level tasks because I was doing the actual management accounts.
Mm.
And that hit hard last night because here I am preaching about low level tasks. And I thought I was doing high value yesterday. And for 8 hours, all I did was low value because I had misplaced
Yeah.
my systems and processes to serve and to do what they should be doing within my business.
So, Kristen, why are so many of us, because I think all of us are getting sucked in that trap of doing low level tasks. Why are we getting stuck in those cycles? Is it genuinely because it needs to be done, and it's just taking up too much of our time? Is it because we don't have, and what I'm hearing you say is like we actually don't have clarity on maybe where our value or what we can be doing instead? Where does it start? And how do we kind of create a plan for ourselves that gets us out of the stage? Because I think that we can be stuck here for
Oh,
years and forever. So
yeah,
how
I
do
think
we
you
figure our way
you
out? What's
do.
the step one? What's the like, okay, I'm going to stop doing this now?
If if you had the opportunity, and also here's the other thing, a lot of the time, so before we can even answer that, a lot of the times we don't understand what the high value task is.
Yeah.
So when my husband says to me, what are the top two high value tasks you're doing today? I'm like, I actually don't know. I don't know. I don't know what that is. I don't know what the high value
Yeah.
task for me is. Is it picking up a phone to phone a potential client? No, someone else can do that. Is it doing a proposal for an investment funding? Yes. What does that mean? Is it to phone and do the proposal for the partnership? But I can't even think of my high value tasks, and I'm aware of it
Yeah.
because I'm just on my own. So moving and being busy felt like high value for years until I realized I was just serving the business as an employee, and realized that nothing I'm doing is growing the business. If what you're
Oh,
doing
you're
is
giving me
not
like real
growing,
realizations here with myself.
if what you're doing is not growing your business, Christy, and it's serving what you have,
Hmm.
it's not high value.
Wow. So we're not aiming. to just serve what we have. We're aiming to grow our business.
And if you're just serving and you want to stay at that level, then that's perfect. But that's not where boss moms are, not
No.
in that first stage. We don't have clarity on what high value is because you don't know if you should partner, you don't know if you should do sales. And someone even on the group said I was handing out business cards to potential people. And I'm like, yeah, someone else can hand out a business card.
Mm. But is it
That's
not
not.
that face to face? So how do we figure out? Sorry, I'm cutting you off here, but I want to go
Yeah.
into the nitty gritty. How do we figure out what our high value things are?
So, what got you here from your sales and growth already? So, if that was referral, if it was you saw a demand and you were meant, so it's identifying what that sales or growth looked like originally.
Hmm.
And then it's going now, what will give me more of that? And a lot of so when I sit and do that, then I know I can get to the answer. The problem as well with that is there's a fear, and it was a big fear for me, of either it happening naturally, or if I did do that again, it means I would have to believe in my product, believe in my service. Do I really believe in my product? Do I really believe in my
Hmm.
service? Or it means, okay, well, now I have to go charge that, and I don't like, I'm too scared to actually charge that. It's understanding the value for the service you provide. And we have all the answers. If you didn't have the answers, you wouldn't have had your first client. You wouldn't have had your first, your second, your third, your
Hmm.
fourth, your fifth. But it's taking that time out and just being real. I go back to that being realistic and that reality of what you want to create. And then you got to go, cool, is following up on the invoice, is doing the Excel spreadsheet, is responding to an email that actually anybody could respond to. Is that getting me to picking up a phone, phoning the real potential client?
Hmm.
Because someone else can hand out a business card if you're not doing a face to face, versus having the phone call to a potential partner, connecting into the network, collaborating. And I think for small businesses in the beginning, that's one of the most important. So we implementing, we had a silent one, but we're making it known now, like a referral program, because we grew our business through only referrals
Hmm.
in the beginning, and it was organic. We didn't even ask. I just got phone calls and phone calls about people phoning and saying, "Hi, she referred me. Can we have a
Yeah.
chat?" And we have a very high conversion rate once people are interested. And now it's about partnerships because if so many people are doing the first part of the advising, mentorship, guidance, resources, etc., and no one's following through for the under 1 million rand on services provided, like we are the
Hmm.
doers. And this is a really intense and extreme one, but my confidence didn't allow me to understand what I needed to grow. And when I thought of making those connections and phone calls and videos and sales pitches, I wanted like to die internally. It was complete cringe.
Hmm.
And I kept saying, when my husband comes into the business, when my husband agrees, when my husband gives me the answers, because is in multi-billion rand companies and has made multi-million rands in his own companies. Like it's, I needed him in my mind. I've always needed somebody else
Hmm.
to boost my confidence and value in order to grow any business. And then I started asking myself, if my husband died tomorrow, would I close my business? And what would I do to support my kids?
Hmm.
So forget life insurance, whether you had any, whether he had any, whether
Yeah.
whatever positive impacts came from a really tragic situation. If I was alone and I had no income and he was not there to boost me, ask me high value tasks, guide me, mentor me, what would I do? And that was put my face out in public, get uncomfortable, make the phone calls, do the proposals. And the next day was the first day I picked up the phone call to go, I wanted my husband to do this call, but now he's not here. And I
Hmm.
made that phone call. And the lump in my throat, I think I cried when I got off the phone because it was such a fear related value thing. And the phone call was received well and nothing went wrong. And so to crash, it's such a self-value confidence thing, I think, for boss moms. And the self-sabotage is real, man. It is so much easier to be busy than to grow that business you actually believe in. And that takes a different kind of internal boss mom. We
Mm.
are so used to surviving and showing up when needed and holding our shit together when everything is falling apart. Like the coolest, calmest mom I've ever been is when my daughter's broken her arm,
Yeah.
when there's been a real, someone's vomiting at 3 a.m. in the morning, when you have to rush to hospital because you're not, it's like the coolest, calmest, like hold it
Mm.
together. And then there's
I
like this
do.
doubt in the business world. It's so easy in comparison. So it's like if it was the last phone call I made because there was no other option, would I make it? Yes. Would I do that proposal? Yes. Would I put my price up? Yes.
Mm.
And then that's what you have to do, come hell or high water. And you only have to do it a few times before you're like, okay, I'm not sure what the problem was. Next day, you make 2 phone calls. The
Yeah.
next day, you make three. The next day, you've got 4 proposals out. And that's the high value. When it is on the edge of you, it almost feels like fear or anxiety.
Yeah.
That is the stuff you need to be doing.
You
And
know what
even the videos when I started social media, I
yeah.
was like, the first one I sat in the car is like, for all those moms out there who need help with business or whatever, our offer is great. Like, go have a look at it. And I turned it off and it was a live thing. And I just sat there and I was like, I want to vomit. I want to.
I
And
know.
it wasn't even to speak to you. That was getting me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
That is on the edge of fear. And it's
You,
like, unless you get through that, following up on your invoice, handing out business cards, sending an email is easy.
mm.
And that's all you'll be stuck into until you elevate your own value.
Oh, I love that. And you know what I find so interesting about business is so often we do think that it's about the strategy and the this and the to-dos and stuff. And so often I find that those huge breakthroughs from however much you're making to the next goal, to the next leap is psychological and it's getting to know yourself and what you're saying. And I love, so I've written down these questions here that I just want to reiterate for mums. Where did your growth come from the beginning? And then how can you do that again? And when you start with that, find that thing that you need to be doing, and then do that internal work of why you're not doing it, why you're scared. And I think so much of it is this like rejection culture and this part of our brain that just is not comfortable with it. And maybe that's what we have to do, like a challenge where it's like do the uncomfortable thing or like find rejection. Because the more that you can get comfortable, and I remember at the beginning, I mean, I had messages of people, we do walks for mums and babies. It takes a lot of organizing. It takes a lot of like managing leaders and sorting out like with parks, because when you get to a certain group, it's an event. So you're actually not allowed just going there. It took so much effort. And I used to get messages day after day. Some people happy to pay the membership. Other people were like, why am I paying to go for a free walk? And I used to get so offended by this because, and I promise you, I'm not kidding. I would spend them because we now like we get thousands of messages on our Instagram, and it's all automated. So the questions are being answered like just via the app. But then I would go and read these questions, and I would spend so long arguing with these people that were never going to be my client, that were never going to join because we're not selling walks. Everyone can go for a free walk. We're selling community. And I used to feel like it was my job to like explain this and have everybody understand that I wasn't a bad person, that I'm not trying to steal money, that like it takes a lot of effort to organize. And I think as soon as I started getting used to the idea of rejection, that not everyone's going to value my offer, like, duh, not everyone's going to value my offer, it became easy. And I still get the questions and they still come through and they get the same responses and it doesn't bother me. But I think that internal stuff, where we're getting our value, why we need that validation, why we're so afraid of rejection, I think that that's such a huge part. And I wasn't expecting to obviously go down this road today because your stuff is all about action. But I do think that's like, I just did. But that is such an important part of what is holding us back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll put that example just quickly into my own life.
Mm,
So I spent a lot of time, and you kind of just reiterating what you said, I spent a lot of time trying to convince and feeling really bad about someone who couldn't afford my
yeah.
service, which is you will not get it anywhere in South Africa.
Mm,
And it was like, I want to be that everything to everyone under R1 million. So whether you are earning 3,000 Rand a month or 80,000 Rand a month, because that's the bracket, like I want to convince that person who might not be able to afford it right now or thinks there's not value in it, I spend so much time trying to convince that person.
Mm.
And now I'm like, if you don't earn this much or you don't have that amount of money, I'm not even going to spend the first 15 minutes with you.
Yeah.
And that took me, I think I literally started doing that last October. So what? That took me 7 months
Yeah.
to just go to all November. I'm like, it took 7 months for me to go, it's okay that you're not my client. You will
Mm.
get to that point of understanding the value. And then I'm here. And
Yeah.
that was nothing to do with the client. That was everything
To do with
internal.
you.
Now we have
Yeah.
qualifying questions. We have qualifying calls, which I've given to somebody else to do. And if they match, the 15 minutes that I spend with them usually turns into 25 minutes and they've signed up by the end of the call
Mm.
because they're already in that place of understanding and affording the value.
I love it.
And it's not a rejection anymore. It is clarity
Yeah.
and expertise and value understanding that I
Who you're
have.
serving. And I think something else on that that I think is really important that I've also had to learn that I hope that anybody listening that's in this stage can kind of take with yeah, just open mind, is I think also when you do have that qualifying number or whatever it is, even when people don't qualify, it almost, the people that do qualify want it more because they're like, oh yes, I'm in there
I
now.
made it. Yes.
I made it. And I know like a whole lot of networking things. And this is like the structure that we're doing now as well. Because even with bus mums, it was the same. There are so many people that could not afford, and it started 180 Rand a month. And every single month when I had to ask for money, I would be apologizing. I'd be like, I'm so sorry that like I have to take this from you. And they were like, well, I can't pay now. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe be there for another month and then like see if you can. But the problem is it really devalued the whole group because as soon
Mm.
as nobody can pay that money, nobody has the expertise to learn and to teach. And
Mm.
now, as our prices have increased, the value of the group has increased, the people in the group, the qualifications, the level of business that they are. Um, and some people may be turned off by it and they never come back. But what I am finding is most people, even when they're not there yet, they hold on, they stay on our Instagrams, they continue to interact. And I hope that as soon as they do get there, we're the first place that they come for networking. And I can
Absolutely.
imagine it's the same with you. You are a very low ticket offer for what you're offering. And if they're not ready yet, maybe they're also not ready yet in other elements. So it could be even a harder client for you. So if anyone,
Yeah.
I guess that's a mess to everyone. If you are in that stage of kind of trying to convince people of your value and your offering, don't. Go higher
Absolutely.
and
You have to have the space for the right client. And if you're
mm,
filling it because you're desperate or you're apologizing or the value that you have internally is not there, there is no space for the right client.
mm.
There's an energy block. And as soon as I actually understood that, and I've understood it for years, but I've never really put it into
Yeah,
practice.
it's hard. And I want to say that
It
it
is
is
hard.
really hard when you need, it's easy to say from a perspective of when you do have money coming in from other places, or you're at that point and then you can be like, oh, I'm not going to take 180 Rand. Um, but when you're at a place where like you really do need the money, you really do need that. And again, like maybe a lot of it isn't just about the money, but also the validation of like, I
Mhm.
have a product. It's really, really hard to say no. So it's not easy, but I feel like it's worth it.
Yeah, no, 100%. Also, I think the difference with a network or support,
Mm,
and this is the only network I've ever bought into, is this Boss Moms community, because I don't believe in and I don't want to say low value or level because that sounds judging. There's a difference with a set structure and a very specific value and outcome
yeah.
of what it is. And the non-spamming is just incredible
Mm,
as a number one. But then the like legit value that comes in after that. But when you find that, and you have now bought a support group tribe.
mhm.
The problem with a partner, and I'm lucky mine can be really, really honest with me, and he's sometimes way too honest with me,
Yeah.
is that your family and your friends are not the devil's advocate that you need. They
Mm,
are the, oh, that sounds amazing. Ah, great. And they go like all your posts, and you're like, okay, I'm on a roll here. Where the difference with even just this network, and I was chatting to somebody else yesterday, knowing through somebody else, blah, 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 and they were busy telling me about an HR problem they had. And I was just like, that is not okay. You just got to get them out. That is not okay. And she is a culture problem. And it was this direct and this tone, and I have just met her. And I was like, I know nothing else. Like, her business is going to suffer because someone somewhere along the line is not pushing her to make that right decision.
mm,
She cannot hold on to that employee.
yeah,
So I was pushing for that, and then like I got into my car, and I'm like, ooh, maybe
too
that was a little
much.
bit like a little bit intense. And I was just like, actually,
Yeah,
I wish that group, that's what the group is for. That
yeah,
is what your network is for, to help you go to that next level. It's like when you're going, oh, I did invoicing today, everyone must cuck on you. Like, why
yeah.
are you doing the invoicing? Why have
Okay.
you at least automated it?
Okay, so I want to go back to that because I want these steps for these mums of what they can do. Okay, so firstly, they've figured out now what their high value tasks are and what their low value tasks are. Then the next step that you've mentioned is doing the internal work, right? Of
Mhm.
like why, the confidence, the validation, things like that. What is the next step? And I want to talk from a perspective of somebody who doesn't necessarily have all the cash flow, that's telling themselves, I don't have money to hire or invest in outsourcing. So I have to, because there are a lot of people, and I'm not convinced that they're really at that stage, but there are a lot of people who will say, I don't have the money to hire somebody right now. So what is that third step for really taking action on doing our high level tasks and not the low level tasks?
If you genuinely don't have the money, and that's also really is debatable, because if
Hmm.
you understand what your valuable hourly rate is,
Hmm.
and let's just say it was 500 Rand an hour, and you're doing the possibly 25 Rand, 30 Rand per hour task, you don't have time to go get that next client to
Yeah.
help you get to the point. So it's this internal bullshit cycle of like, I don't have the money because it's cheaper, I'm doing it self. Really, at what cost? You've only got 2 hours a day that you're spending on your business. One and a half of it is doing value tasks at 30 Rand per hour. So that conversation has to be, again, a real one. It's
Mm,
easier to do the 30 Rand task than the 500 Rand task. So that, I promise you, 50% of people would be like, oh my God, yeah, if I did outsource this at 60 Rand, I could go get the next client, which is 2,000 Rand. It's just a math sum to go real reality check. Yes,
mm.
I will find the 60 Rand. That's two cappuccinos. Okay, now we're not talking about 60 Rand, obviously, when you're hiring or
No,
outsourcing,
yeah.
but the value of how little you can actually sacrifice to afford something. And if you genuinely can't, then you need to be able to understand what it takes to automate that, find the best systems,
Mm,
stop doing it manually. So there is that phase. I totally get it. I've been there where you genuinely cannot.
mm,
But then you have to spend the time and go, okay, the 2 hours today is not going to be selling. The 2 hours today is going to be automating,
yeah.
finding a platform that's 3 months free trial. 1 month's free trial gives me a month to afford the 99 Rand it's going to cost me, but now I'm replacing 60% of the time that it takes me to do it.
Mm,
So there's those kind of processes then that you can go into, but I promise you now 50% of the people can afford it. It is also a value exchange.
yeah.
Am I valuable enough to do the high value and outsource the rest? Because that's a growth. That is not self-sabotaging. It is going, I'm going to trust somebody else, increase my tribe so that I can actually go and grow the business. Or just spend time with my family.
Yeah. No,
What is
I
the
love,
value of dinner?
and I really think that you're onto, well, obviously you're onto something, but I feel like I'm also clicking in this way that if we just switch things around, so if we don't put the pressure and say, okay, never do low value tasks, but if you like just do your high value tasks first, I
Yeah.
feel like it wouldn't even take that long. So say the high value task is actually getting that corporate client or that extra client, whatever it is. It wouldn't even take that long to do that. Then you get the money in and then you can pay for those low level tasks. But so many of us, and as I'm talking, I'm like, why do we get stuck in that? And you've hit on something as well. Very often, the things that we're doing are just the easy things for us. And I think of myself with Instagram, like I hate it. I hate doing my social media. It's the thing that drives me the most crazy because it's very monotonous. I'm not that creative with things like that. Like I don't create good reels, but I am spending all of my time on that stupid social media. And I think it's a safety net as well, because it's like I'm telling myself I have to do it, but also it's very easy for me. I can do it while I'm doing something else or watching something. It doesn't exhaust me, but also it doesn't excite me.
It drains your energy. So that's a lie, Christy.
Yeah.
It does
No,
exhaust you.
no, it
It
does.
exhausts your energy. So,
Mm,
yes, it might not be fatiguing physically, but
yeah.
all those things that we don't want to do, that we are doing because we think we have to, add up. And that
Yeah.
comes at a cost later. So now you're a little bit drained and you think you're doing it quickly because you're sitting watching a program. You're actually not.
Yeah.
So those are the things we're telling ourselves
I
constantly.
know
And
that
I've
it's a
been there,
mind
do it
game.
all the time. And it's not okay that we buy into that. We're so used to being switched on 24/7 that it's okay to multitask and watch that and do this. And it's not. You should be watching that so that you actually cut off. So that it
Yeah.
gives you the energy the next day to focus on something for 30 minutes and get through it, even if it's a low level task. At least it's done in 30 minutes because you're not drained actually because you've been combining and multi-layering. All we do as boss moms is layer and multitask.
Yeah.
It's not okay and it doesn't work.
Love it. It's
And
not
we have to
okay.
get through that phase, but it's not okay. It should be the shortest phase of your business,
Yeah.
that phase. And if you have a plan, then it's okay. It's we don't make that plan and then we get stuck into it.
Mm,
And just have that plan so that you know that there's light at the end of the tunnel and it's not another train.
yeah. And Kirsten, when do people come to you? That's what I'm wondering. Because we know what you do. You do the actual doing of the business. What
We
is
do the
this?
low level tasks.
You do the low level tasks. Exactly. What is the stage that mums come to you? Do you help with that plan as well? Do they have to figure out the plan? Do they have to figure out their high level task versus low level task and then come to you and be like, I've got it? Tell me
No,
when
you
they
don't
come
have
to
to
you.
have you don't have to have anything together to come to us. You need to be able to invest 1,888 per month,
Mhm.
and we give you your full back office. So if you can afford that, so some people have come to us and they've started and they're earning 10,000 Rand a month in their business. They're happy to give the two away because it means they now have 5, 10, 15 hours a week that they can go and sell,
I bet
which
even
means
more than
it
that. I
goes
mean,
from
I'm
10 to
almost
20,
sure,
30.
yeah, I'm sure that we're all, well, not all, I'm sure that many of us are sitting in that stage of that is all we're doing. And you said something at the beginning, not growing, but just maintaining that
Mm.
business. So many of us are there. Okay, so we come to you at any stage. We have
At
you
any
give a free
stage.
clarity call.
So yeah, the 15-minute call is just to go, okay, tell me about your business. Great.
Hmm.
Well, let's take that. This is what we offer. We offer the same services, and depending on the client and how far they are, it just goes deeper. But we take away everything outside of selling. And after 3 to 4, actually 4 to 6 weeks, we sit with you and go, well, what is your sales plan? And we do a free 1 hour sprint session. We call it a sales sprint session with the client. And then we go, what is your sales plan? Great, you don't have one. Well, yeah, we'll help you build one. Or we give you a templates and resources, you go build it. Then we just make sure the marketing plan supports that. So you can go and focus on the sale. And now we're not just doing social media for the sake of social media. We're actually supporting your sales plan and nothing else you have to worry about in terms of finance, HR, legal, compliance, SARS, and even basic operations. So I saw someone the other day, they've come, they're like, listen, I've got all this manual stuff. I don't know how to go from that system to that system. We're like, we'll do it for you. That's part of administration. So now all you have to do is go make sure you're getting more clients on the new system. We will do the transfer. So if you can afford 1,888 per month, come to us. That is our under 1 million Rand turnover, which is our biggest passionate target client.
Mm.
We've got clients, multi-million Rand clients that turnover that we do, and then we go deeper into the service and obviously charge a bit more. But that under 1 million Rand, it's 1,888 a month, and you don't have to do a low-level task again.
Okay,
Now, if
I
you
just I just
find
want
the
to
relief,
clarify, like 1,888 Rand a month, not like 10,000.
no, it's 1,888, and
That
we
is
will take care
crazy and
of,
amazing.
of all of it.
Okay, well, sign us bus mums up.
Yeah, it is. Christy, just moms need help, and we built a business to help them. It is just, it's what we've done. And people who couldn't afford it in the beginning and trusted us have grown. People are employing people, they are
No.
increasing their turnover. But the biggest thing is when I speak to a client, and I often, like, I think my tagline should be, we love to make our clients cry. And it's because of the relief we give them,
Yeah.
or the fact that they're being seen and they can pick up a phone and talk through a problem, because you can only talk to your cat in the mirror and your 4-year-old that's bugging you in the afternoon so often, is being able to have that. And this is what we see when with our clients. It's just this like,
Yeah. That is
and if you can
amazing.
feel that, you can take the next step.
I can only imagine. Kirsten, thank you so much for your time today. I feel like we have to have like a whole nother hour on top of this to keep chatting because I could just chat to you forever. But I know that the mums are going to get so much value from this, from your experience, from your story,
I hope
also
so.
from your offering, because that's, yeah, just amazing. So thank you for your time. Thank you for being part of our Boss Mum community.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the
I've
only one
loved,
I'm part
loved, loved
of.
getting to know you.
It's really valuable, Christy, and every boss mom should be on it,
Thank
really.
you. Thank you. Okay, we will chat soon. And Boss Mums,
Awesome.
we'll see you soon.
Bye,
Thanks.
guys.
Bye.